You're on.
I'm on. I had to go close the studio door. So he's giving me a countdown. 10, 9, 8. So I'm a little wind-winded because I had to run the last 50 feet. How is everybody today? I hope you're all great.
Wow, Deb is awake and early.
Oh, wow. Miss Deb is up and at 'em.
Smoking, burning British Columbia.
Okay. We're gearing up for fall, and it is probably one of the hottest days we've seen in a few weeks. We are supposed to be, what, 36 degrees today? Oops. Turn the volume down. 36 degrees today with the Humidex.
I'm on the ocean side too, right on the wharf.
Aha.
All night.
Good for you.
Mm-mm.
No.
No. Sweaty, drunken people.
Oh, goodness. He's working another concert this weekend. So it'll be interesting. The stories are always interesting. And our story today is we're going to be painting for fall. It's my favorite season. I absolutely love everything about the fall. The weather, the lack of warm. I really don't like the warm. and all the colors that go with it. I love all those rich reds and those deep oranges and those burnt tones. I just love it. So that's a me thing. I love the fall. So I got really excited about doing this piece today. Once I got started on this one, I couldn't get stopped. I really liked the color palette. I liked everything about it. So, and I needed to throw in a little bit of blue. I don't know if any of you have been watching any of the home decor shops, like Home Sense and Home Goods and things like that. There's little punches of white pumpkins and blue pumpkins. So there's some unusual colors popping up. I even saw some deep plum. Made me think that I should probably pull out some of that new purple that Decor's got. It's an awesome color. It's so pretty. And I think it would make an awesome looking pumpkin, that poetic plum. So I have a sneaking suspicion I'll be doing something with that. So we're going to throw lots of bright greens and some Bahama blue, and the cat is visiting again. Really? I'm just, in the way, apparently. I feel like a human doormat most of the time. She trots across my lap, wipes her feet, and then moves on to somebody else. So we're going to tackle painting these autumn pumpkins, these harvest pumpkins. I love the colors in them. We're going to start with scarlet on that big pumpkin and some oyster beige for the white pumpkin, and of course the Bahama blue for the blue one. We're going to have some fun with it. And we have giveaways this week. We have, this week it's all about the Dynasty Faux Squirrel and a texture, of course. And in those prize packs, we also have some fabulous goodies from Southern Ridge Trading. Karen Beaupre at Southern Ridge is always really generous. And I've got some really gorgeous little chipboard pieces going out to you guys. So there's 3 of you going to win a set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel wave brushes, the angles. There's a set of angles in there, and there's also a couple of pieces from Southern Ridge Trading and some other goodies as well. And what else? Oh yeah, there's on the website we have a hidden coupon code. Plus we have a sale on all the e-packets. All the electronic patterns are on sale. That ends tonight at midnight. And you can use the coupon code with that sale, plus you can use it with all of the stencils and any of the other supplies that are on the site. And I think that's about it. What, you got anything to add?
Deb says squirrel.
Squirrel? Yes, that I'm very squirrely today. I'm a little squirrely today. Very short attention span. Not nearly enough tea.
Oh, we got Sheila Landry in there too. We got
Hi, Miss Sheila.
Judy Thacker's in there.
Awesome.
Becky Henman. J.L. Brewer's in there.
Debbie Matthews. She's from Spring, Texas.
What is my job at the concerts? Dancer question?
Dancer?
No. Unless you like the Carlton.
Unless you like the Carlton, yes. No. Renee works security for
Yeah, supervising
musicians.
security.
He's supervising security at concert venue.
It's called Area 506 for anybody who's in the maritime area.
Yep, it's a series. It's a summer event series of concerts that's played at the Harborfront in St. John. It's quite a nice venue down there too.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's really nice. So so that's what he's doing. So he gets in very late at night and then proceeds to tell us stories of the drunken adventures of people at this concert. So
some of them are entertaining.
Very. I'm thinking he could write a book.
Memoirs of a bouncer.
Yes. Well, you're not really a bouncer.
No, not a bouncer.
No. Although, yeah, I could see it.
For
All
us
right.
dumb Yanks, what is 36 in real temperature? Oh, 36?
36. It's
in
about,
real temperature?
in real temperature, it's close to 100, isn't it?
I think it's 100 and...
I think 40 is over 100, but yeah, 36 is close to 100
I
degrees.
think it's 98.
It's miserable. That's what I know. Anything over 25 is miserable. I don't do heat, just one walking hot flash in the summertime. It's
36 in Fahrenheit is 98.6.
It's 98, almost 99 degrees.
It's the human body temperature.
Ew. It's ew is what it
The
is.
temperature it's inside you is outside you.
Yeah, not pretty.
You'd think you'd be neutral. And
One
not
would
sweat.
think, but not so much. Yeah, it's nasty. 36 degrees is not pleasant. But it is sunny. It looks like it's clouded over a little bit out there, though.
Anything over 20.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Oh, Judy Thacker, we hit 100 almost every day now. Oh, dear God.
No.
Texas cooks came Try 117, Becky. Oh, my God. Becky, you're in Arizona.
Oh,
Oh,
it's a dry heat.
it's a dry heat. Okay. That makes a huge difference, apparently.
It does. The difference between Dubai and Afghanistan is night and day.
Yeah, okay.
They could be the exact same temperature. I'd hate to be anywhere near Dubai.
Oh, humidity.
Oh, God, it's disgusting.
That's like going to Tampa.
It's like throwing a wet towel in your face.
It's like getting off the plane in Tampa.
68 Fahrenheit.
Or under is good for me. I'm with you, Lori. I'm with you. Whole summer has been 30 plus degrees and we have no AC. Well, we have AC.
Barely.
But yeah, we hide. I hide in the studio in the summer and I hide in the studio in the wintertime because it's perfect down here.
No, winter it's not bad.
The winter, I
Especially if
love
you get
winter here.
A fire going.
Oh, Sheila, we're 21 today. It doesn't look like we're going to get much warmer. Thank goodness.
Oh, she's in...
She's on the South Shore near Digby.
Okay.
In that
21's
area.
comfortable.
Yeah, 21's nice.
Oh,
Jailbrewer in Sydney, Australia, it was so humid that I'd wash my clothes and hang them out to dry, and they never dry. Okay.
wow.
We've hung clothes on the line out here, and they just freeze dried. It's been so cold that things dried because
Don't
it
need
was so cold.
starch.
Yeah.
All right, so got to paint some pumpkins.
Yes, we need to paint some pumpkins. I could sit here and gab all day, but he has to go in a little while, and we really should paint something today. So this is what we're gonna do.
You
You're
want a
ready?
glass of
So
wine?
No.
Is it that kind of day, or
No.
no?
No.
All right. Well, let's switch cameras here.
Goody.
There you go.
So this is what we're going to tackle today. This is harvest pumpkins. Now, when I wrote up the pattern, I put a variety of different things in there. You don't have to do give thanks if that's not up your alley, obviously. So you have a number of things to choose from. This is a really simple piece. It relies very heavily on some dry brushing, a little bit of loose floating. It's not a difficult piece to paint. So the first thing we're going to start with is that stenciling in the background. Ta-da!
You can bring it closer too.
Oh, good.
There you go.
So I'm going to position my stencil. Now, I'm always telling people this. I don't like to do this, where it's just on the line. I don't really care for that. I like, and Bob has joined us. I like taking it off the surface just a little bit. I've got, maybe 1/4 of an inch off the edge. It should be straight though. Jeez Louise.
Having that kind of day.
There we go. And I'll go up about 1/4 of an inch if I can. Good Lord. You're one of those. Yesterday I was a French fry short of a Happy Meal. And today I'm probably about the same. So I'm going to grab my favorite stencil brush and we're going to work with asphalt. I've been on a fall kick. I've been playing with sunflowers. I'm kind of obsessed with sunflowers at the moment.
They're trending.
They are trending. I painted this the other day. This one was fun. It's got a little stamping in the background. I went with a lighter color and it's pretty. I like it, but it needed something. So I was bored. So I repainted it.
Thank you.
What did I do?
You smacked the camera.
I'm sorry. So I repainted it and I did it with a red background because I know somebody that needs sunflowers and red. So I think it's rather pretty. I like it. So I'm a little bit obsessed with the whole sunflower thing these days and the fall colors. I'm loving the fall colors. So we're going to use asphaltum on this stencil. Make sure that you secure it. Make sure it's a little piece of tape to hold it in place. And stencil circular fashion, change directions frequently. For this one, we're not looking for, a super even application. I just want to get color on. So if it's a little mottled or a little irregular, that's all right. Just the only thing you want to avoid is having, a lot of bleeding, things getting underneath the stencil. We do want this to be fairly.
Deb's waving her arm saying, me, 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 me. Just to let you know.
Yeah. She would be the one that's looking for sunflowers on red.
Yeah. Will this be available as a pattern?
Which, the sunflowers?
I think so.
The sunflowers?
Yeah.
Yes, it will be.
It will be.
Yeah. I just got to go to Burnish on it today, so
I
haven't had time to type it up. But yes, we will get that in as a pattern. So I just continue working on this until I get, a nice buffalo check pattern all the way across.
Oh, no, the pumpkins.
The pumpkins. The pumpkins is up on the website.
It's already a pattern.
Yep. So I've got, that's good enough. So I kind of like that this is not perfect, but it does give me a nice application. There's a spot here I'm not thrilled with.
Her coffee cup is seafoam. Seafoam blue.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, seafoam green, sorry.
Yeah, seafoam green. Bahama, it's not really blue.
It's the closest thing to Bahama blue that Yeti has.
It was as close to Bahama blue as I could find. They did not have one colored asphaltum, or I'd have that.
What's today's buffalo check?
This is the 1 inch, and this is an easy stencil to realign for things. So you just line up one row so that it all matches, of course, and then I shifted it as soon as I tried to tape it in place. There we go. And then I'm just going to continue on until I get my whole surface covered.
Background color?
The background color for this is burnt orange. It's this one here. A Deckwort. It's DA016. I like this color for fall pieces. It's a nice, rich, deep orange.
Mix that with the asphaltum.
And then when you go over it with the asphaltum, it gives you a nice, rich, warm tone. So, and it's a more subtle contrast than if you went with a brighter orange.
Do you need the 1-inch stencil for the proportions? I have a 1/2 inch. Will that work?
The 1 inch is ideal for this surface. You might find that the 1/2 inch is a little busy. You could try it.
And what happened to your hand and wrist?
Oh, just I have a recurring issue with some arthritis and whatnot in my wrists. So every once in a while, I got to wear this thing just so it feels better. It's a compression glove, so just alleviate some of the swelling and the pain, and nothing serious.
And do you ever use multi-surface paint?
I do. I love multi-surface satins. They are a phenomenal paint.
And she does use them for outside projects.
I use them for outside projects. I use them on plastics. I've used them on metal. I've even used them on fabric for outdoors. They're fantastic. On glass, you can actually use them on glass and on metal and heat set them. They're phenomenal.
I need the more you know rainbow thing.
The more you know. I used the Americana multi-surface satins are the ones I used to paint Dan's motorcycle that time.
Oh, you're right. With the maple leaves.
Yeah. My husband had bought Suzuki Katana. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And the previous owner had dropped it, and the fairing on it had all these scratches and gouges in it. And he didn't like it. And it was a little unrealistic to buy a whole new fairing just because it was scratched up. So... and
it was an older bike.
So he asked me if I could touch it up for him. So out come the multi-surface satins, and we stenciled maple leaves all over the front of his bike, so it looked like maple leaves blowing off of the bike. And I used the multi-surface satins.
How do you drop a motorcycle?
And it's easy to drop a 900-pound motorcycle.
It surprisingly, it is easy. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I need wood.
Yeah.
There we go. But it can happen.
Yep.
I know. I have the same question sometimes. How do you drop it?
They call it dropping it. It's technically you just tip it over.
Yeah.
And it falls. But yeah, it had a pretty good gouge in it, and the multi-surface satins certainly cleaned that up in no time flat. I love those. I've never been one for painting on glass. I find painting on glass very frustrating. And it's not something that I have ever done a lot of, so a lot of that frustration is simply me not knowing the ins and outs of painting on glass. But when Decor came out with the multi-surface satins, that changed because I really loved working with those. And then last year, they came out with the new Decor glass paints, the fully opaque glass paints, and those are absolutely awesome. So now I have a new appreciation for painting on glass. We're almost there. This is probably the most boring part of this piece, is doing all this stenciling.
I have 3 of the 1963 Jim Beam bottles.
Oh, wow.
That I want to replicate the Dream of Janine colors on.
Dream of Jeannie.
Oh, Jeannie. Janine.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, multi-surface satins would do that nicely.
What paint would you recommend?
You could use multi-surface satins. You could also use the Americana glass paint, the new one. It has a nice color palette. There's a nice selection of colors. They're very creamy. They brush on very easily. You can blend them easily, float with them easily. They're just a really easy paint to work with.
Wait, I thought Renee was your husband.
Nope.
Somehow never heard any different. Nope. I'm the son.
Yep. He is my offspring, the fruit of my loins.
Hope everyone is having a fantastic Saturday. I do too.
Yeah. I get to sit and paint. How bad can it be?
I get to watch a bunch of drunken idiots tonight. Actually, I can't call them drunken idiots. Just
Drunks.
drunks.
Well, you know what? They're having a good time. They're out there.
Yeah.
They've been penned up for a year and a half.
I don't know how many times I've had to tell people to put the joints out. And but we're outdoors. Yeah, but this is Port
also
Authority
public
property.
venue.
If they say no smoking on the property, guess what?
Yeah,
No
no
smoking
smoking
on the property.
Nope.
You need special brushes for new glass paint?
No, actually, the new glass paint worked very well with my regular paint brushes. However, I will say this. Where is it? That's not it. There it is.
Karen, Renee, how many cookies are left?
How many cookies are left, son?
I'm not the one eating them all.
Yeah.
It's
Karen.
it's a dual effort between me and my father.
Let's just say not many.
There's enough.
There's enough. Not according to your father.
Not for long, but there's enough.
There we go. Now, ordinarily, I would come all the way out here, but I'm going to dry this real quick, and then I'm going to show you how I age the edges of this. You know what? It's a half an inch. I might as well finish it. I was just going to say, I have a set. This is a specialty set of decor brushes for the gloss enamels. They have these sets for the glass paint as well. This is one, but there are a variety of them. And the bristles are quite a bit softer in this lineup than for the gloss enamels because the paint isn't quite as thick and it's very transparent. The new ones feel more like Americana, the new glass paints. And so the viscosity is a little bit different, and so they work really, really well with your regular brushes, but they also work exceptionally well with these too. So if you're looking for a set just specifically for glass, check those out on deckwart.com. They have a couple of those to choose from. So I'm going to line up my stencil again, and I'm going to just quickly finish out this edge because why not? It's not that much.
My friend rode his Harley in the snow, laid it down, and had a hard time picking it back up, and no one would stop and help.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I can see that being a problem.
Another biker would have stopped and helped.
Yes, another biker would have stopped.
Or at least should have.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I'll always do. If I see a motorcycle parked on the side of the highway and the helmet's on the ground, I stop.
Yep. International signal for
I'm in
biker
trouble.
needs help.
Yeah.
So I was stenciling the other day and not thinking, just lined everything up and then realized that I had put the open space on the area that wasn't supposed to be open. And I ended up with a black check all over the place. It was a mess. So I just realized I got a goober of paint where I don't want it. There we go. And then I'm just going to quickly... Ta-da!
I bought one of the dryers and it came white. Is it the same dryer or has the same? It has the same.
Oh yeah, they come in a variety of colors, and they just sort of put whatever in the box. So yeah, it's the same dryer. It's just
Oh, coffee, so good.
to
And I'm gonna need it.
Deb's probably working on her second cup by now.
I'm curious if I'm going to be stuck in that security booth at the art museum the entire time, or if I'm going to be able to walk around.
I don't know.
I'd like to walk around. And see.
Ronnie's got a tasking for next week
Yeah.
to work at the art gallery in the city.
Beaver Brook Art Gallery.
Yeah. The Lord Beaverbrook Art Gallery.
Check it out. See, well, again, if I'm stuck in the security room, then, well, I can only look through the security cameras.
There we go. All done.
Take a peek.
Finally got all that stenciling done. So I'm going to dry this real quick. Now, ordinarily, I would float around the edges with some soft black. But I'm going to show you a really fast and, I call it fast and dirty way of doing this. And I'm going to do that with a little piece of shop towel.
What's today's concert? Today is Kylie Fox and the Bahamas. Never heard of them. If you've heard the Bahamas, cool.
Debbie Matthews, for those of us that are OCD, we thank you. That would be me.
Yeah.
Just sitting there staring at it going, no, can't do it. I was just going to leave it, but no, can't do it. I'm going to paint something on this when we're done. So I've just picked up a little of that soft black and some water on a piece of shop towel. And I'm just going to rub that soft black all the way around the outside edge of the surface, like so. And I'm paying a little more attention to the corners. Just like that. And you can make this as dark or as light as you want. If you don't want it super dark, then just do 1 or 2 floats or washes around the corner. If you like a heavier edge, then by all means, make it a little heavier.
So Linda Sofranco says, my mom Mary said to let you know she is on watching in Florida.
Oh, how nice. Mary, I'm glad that you got to spend some time with your girl, Linda, and I'm glad that you made it home safe and sound. I'm tickled pink that you're watching from home, too. There we go. I'm just going to dry this. Now, I'm going to go back over this one more time because I rather like it. I like it a little darker at the edges, but that's just my personal taste. Now, if you prefer, you can float around it if you feel you get better control that way. I just sort of like the randomness of this.
Folk indie apparently is
Okay.
folky indie music. It's Bahamas. As long as it's not that lullaby stuff that I heard the other week. Oh my god. I nearly fell asleep backstage.
So, there we go.
Do you ever do security for someone we have heard of? Alan Doyle from Great Big Sea.
Yeah. And what was the guy last night?
Joel Plaskett.
Joe Plaskett, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, he's... And there we go. That's how you get that whole outside edge. So now, the next step for this would be to trace and transfer your line drawing on. And I gotta see where my line drawing went. So now, the line drawing for this, you'll notice everything is on one page. And it is designed so that when you put the corner of the page into the corner of the surface, this is a 10 by 10, it puts everything right where it needs to be. And I traced it using I put white graphite under it, but I use this red Uniball. I use those black Uniballs for everything under the sun, especially working directly onto my artwork. But this red one is fantastic for tracing because you can see where you've been. And now that I've got this thing and I've done this, I don't think I could do this without it anymore. But it just works really well, and it makes everything so nice and clear. And the other thing that I'm notorious for is adding things after the fact. I am notorious for going, oh, you know what? That needs another curlicue right there. So if I remember, and I'm tracing it on while I'm designing, and I decide that it needs a new curlicue, I put it on in red, then I know that I have to make that change to my line drawing, so that when I go back and I do my final line drawing where everything is nice and clean, I will remember to include those things. And sometimes I'm also taking things out. And so when I do that, I will just take my red pen and scratch it out so that when I go to make my final line drawing for the pattern, I will know that this has been removed, that I didn't actually use it in the end result. So very handy little rig, those red pens. So there we are. So I would just use a white graphite for this. I think that a gray would be very hard to see over top of this. So I use a white graphite, trace, transfer. Don't forget when you're doing your lettering to grab that ruler for those straight up and down lines. All of those vertical lines and those horizontal lines, make sure they're nice and straight. This one's already been meted out, so you don't really have to level it. You just have to trace it on. So, what else? So that is it. That one is ready. And then all you have to do is grab your favorite colors. Ouch. Damn. Darn.
You good?
Yeah, good.
Oh, damn's okay. Damn is not on the blacklist.
I didn't drop the F-bomb, so it's all good. It's a minor miracle. So I've got my base coats in. I used Scarlet on my pumpkin. And in all honesty, after the fact, once I got it base coated, I found it a little too dark. So I pulled a little bit of the spiced pumpkin into it, and just to lighten it up a little bit. I just found it too dark on camera. So we've got our pumpkins base coated. This one is base coated again with the segments. I leave those tiny little spaces between the various segments in the pumpkins. The oyster beige on this one in the background, and this one is the Bahama blue. The leaves, you're going to notice there's a typo. There is an error in the pattern. It calls for plantation pine on the leaves. And the leaves are actually antique green, and they are shaded with plantation pine. So we're going to use the antique green for the base on these leaves, and the same with the stems on the pumpkins.
Scarlet was not in the instructions.
No.
No, it wasn't. It was just your choice at the time.
It was my choice at the time. I'm notorious for that too. So, to get started, what you are going to do first and foremost is we need to pull these pumpkins off of that background. Now, ordinarily, I would do this before I start base coating everything. Right after I do my line drawings, I go around my line drawing with a float. And you can use soft black, you can use asphaltum. I like soft black on this. It plays up the oranges really nicely. Keeps it from, doesn't flatten it out, doesn't kill the color, and it gives you a nice deep shadow pretty quickly. So a little bit soft black all the way around your line drawings, and that's going to set everything back a little bit. And again, this one doesn't have to be super neat and tidy. We just want to get this nice dark shadow back here. And you're going to do the same thing underneath. It is important to get that nice dark shadow under here.
Can you repeat the color of the large pumpkin? Pattern at warm sunset?
Yeah, warm sunset. I goofed and called it scarlet.
You're
It is
just goofing
warm
on your all your
I'm just a waste of space today. Warm sunset is an orangey red tone. It was a new color last year. Now I can't find it. Good gravy, Marie. What did I do with it?
Yeah, she paints really fast.
I do paint very fast.
Yeah.
And I can't find my warm sunset. Good grief. Warm sunset is the gorgeous red tone. Reddish orange. There we go. Warm sunset.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there it is. This is warm sunset. I love this tone. It's but 2 values lighter than that burnt orange back there. And it's a great color. And I goofed, put scarlet on there, realized my mistake, and
Tracy, you're never a waste of space.
some days.
She's just a space cadet today for some
I
reason.
am a space cadet today. Actually, yes, my arm is killing me. So yes, warm sunset is your base color for that big old pumpkin in the background. I love this tone, and it looks really great with that orange flame, and it's highlighted really nicely with that spice pumpkin, so we're going to have some fun with that. Just going to make sure my shadows are nice and deep in here. And we're going to start shading this big pumpkin in the background. And I'm going to use, you can see I've put a couple of lines in to shape this pumpkin. This is just a little bit of thin dish Falton. And we're going to deepen those a little bit. This is not a really sharp float. We just want to get a little dark color in there to define those little dips.
Jessica Killer. The videos are always recorded. There is no way to paint while laughing along with these two.
Sure there is. If I can do it, you can do it. So
she's about as graceful as what?
Pig on skates.
Pig on skates? Okay. I was looking for something else.
Sometimes.
Flying sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Pig on skates.
It's an old expression.
Pig on skates. Well, why would you put a pig on skates?
Who knows? So I'm just going to dry this real quick. Now, in the instructions, I talked about using a fabric roller to put the base coat on. And there was a reason for this. The fabric rollers leave behind a little bit of texture when you roll paint on with them. It's similar to an orange peel. It has a very subtle orange peel effect, which works out really well when you're working on a smooth surface. The first one I did on canvas. Well, the canvas already has a texture, so it was really really a no-brainer for that one. But I like that little bit of texture back there. And we want this pumpkin to be a little darker on the side, so I'm just going to deepen that. Remember my expression, neatness doesn't count, perfection is to be avoided at all costs? This is where this matters most. We're not looking for perfection. I'm just looking to get these shadows nice and dark back here.
What is a fabric roller?
I find them at Home Depot. They come with I've got
I think I know what they.
a cage and a roller sitting right there. Okay, you can get something like this at your local Home Depot. It's just essentially, this is a paint cage, what's called cage or a roller. And a lot of us know these. There are these, the high density foam rollers, but you can get them with what looks like it's covered in bunches of string. It's a fabric roller. And it creates a nice texture on the background. It's ideal if you're going to be dry brushing stuff because it creates this nice subtle texture in the background. And it's just, they usually come in multiple colors. They've got rainbows or whatnot in them. You can get them just in white, but it looks like yarn as opposed to these foam rollers or the plush rollers. For the life of me, I don't have one sitting here.
You even have one in the
Oh, there's one. I just threw one out, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because it was just beyond.
Oh, there was no saving it?
No. It had seen one too many trips to the wash bin. So I'm going to add one more float in here. A couple of spots here I want to deepen. There we go.
Like a mop roller?
Yeah, that's a good... they have various names. Just a fabric roller. Fabric covered as opposed to the usual variety. So,
Kind of looks like a mop head.
yeah, a little bit. So I've just put this loose float of soft black in first, and then I'm going over it with a little bit of asphaltum, and that's given me the shape I want for my pumpkin. And I'm going to dry this, and we're going to start dry brushing this. And I dug out some neons today because I love those. I think they're fun. So let's see what we can punch up with those. So now I'm using a point blender for this. This is a large or medium point blender. Deb Antonik has these on her website if you're looking for them. These are fantastic for dry brushing. I absolutely love these. And the reason I do is because of that little point. And these are really dense. Like that is a lot of hair packed into that ferrule. And so this brush has got really nice snap. So we're going to start highlighting that right side of our pumpkin. I'm going to use a little bit of spiced pumpkin for this. And I'm just going to pick up a little of that pumpkin, and I'm going to start dry brushing that highlight side. And because I used the wrong color for the base, I'm going to have to add a little white to this because it's not giving me a lot of contrast. So pick up a little bit. So spiced pumpkin, I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white just to lighten it a little. I'm going to exaggerate this on here so that it shows up well. So I'm just putting a dry brush on the highlight side of this pumpkin. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. The nice thing about that point blender is that point, you can be very accurate with it. So, there we go. This is just such a loosey-goosey, easy to do way to get these pumpkins smartened up. And I love that the texture that that roller gives you. It's very subtle, it's soft, and so you have control. And because of the shape of this point blender, a little of that color overlaps with the shading and it softens it. So we don't have that harsh boundary between colors. So if at some point that shadow looks a little harsh, all of this dry brushing is going to soften that out a bit for you. And I suppose this isn't really technically a pumpkin, it's a squash.
It's too hot for puppers out there.
Oops. Miss Dot is no longer outside playing.
Oh, it's too hot for her to be in the sun.
Ah. We haven't given you guys an update on Miss Dot recently. She's going in for her checkup soon.
Yeah.
She's been doing pretty well.
She's not getting worse, but she's not getting better.
Yeah, she's not. We're not really seeing any sign of improvement, but we're not seeing any sign of decreased mobility either. So she's
That is far from it.
she has kind of become a neighborhood oddity, I guess. I don't know. She goes for a walk. Everybody in the neighborhood knows who she is now. Which is kind of cute. So I've got my highlight in. I'm going to pull that a little more of this back here. I need to put a little bit back here just to soften things up a little. We are going to brighten this.
What do you use to clean your dry brushes?
I actually, for this one, I've been using hand sanitizer and then I rinse it out and then shape it again. It is a synthetic, so I can get away with it.
Could you use a dome stencil brush as a dry brush?
Absolutely. Dome stencil brushes work very well for this type of thing. Another one, I was going to run this by you. This is another good one for doing this type of thing. This is that Dynasty Encaustic, which would be my fugly brush.
Just smaller.
It's just the smallest version of it. And this one works really well too because it's got a little stiffness to it. So it works well. And Dynasty also has these. This is the Mezzaluna. It's similar to the old, remember the crescent brush, the crescent blender? It's just like that one too. And this one works really well as well for dry brushing. So there's a lot of different options. I just happen to like this one. So I'm going to pull a little bit of that warm white. I want to brighten some of these highlights a bit.
That is a IPC?
This is an IPC point blender. It's a medium. There we go.
And you want to see the side of it. Bring it right up.
Shoop. IPC point blender.
Yay.
So I have been kind of enamored with these lately, these neons. I wanted to see what would happen if I pulled a little of this in.
Some neons?
Some neons. So I'm just going to load up that point blender with a little bit of the neon. Oy, I better clean it first. There we go.
Can you get them from the brush guys?
Yes, the brush guys do have them.
Don't forget to use Tracy M.
Yep.
As your promo code. Get you even more discount than already discounted brushes.
Yep. So, ooh. I don't know if that's popping as much on that end as it is on this one, but I like it.
Oh yeah, it's popping.
So I'm just pulling a little of that neon. Now these are quite transparent, so I'm taking that color right to the edge so that it bumps up against that shadow. Ooh, I like it. Now you could float this in. I'm not really using this as dry brush because I'm picking up that neon right on the tip of the brush and then I'm just blending it out. So you could certainly float that in. without any difficulty. Ooh, I love this.
I mostly shop Canadian because of shipping rates. Don't blame you.
Yep. Well, Deb is based in Penticton, BC, and she has them on her website.
Yeah.
And her shipping is very reasonable.
What color was that neon?
This is called Torrid Orange. The Decor neons.
Torrid?
Torrid. Yep. Great word. Somebody has the word torrid refers to heat.
Can you varnish over the neons?
Yes, you can. Ooh, which brings me to another toy I got this week.
Oh God. You got her excited.
I got all excited. Squirrel! I got all excited because
Oh yes, your glow-its.
this is the ultimate, not the glow-it, this is the ultimate glow in the dark. This stuff is freaking amazing. And this can be mixed directly with your acrylic paint, or you can, what's that?
I'm gonna turn off all the lights.
Okay.
Just hold it right there. And let's see if it glows.
Let's see if it glows.
Do.
He's going to shut off the lights so he can show you this. This stuff is cool. We noticed this the other day when we bring it in the house. Okay, it hasn't really... it's not quite dark enough, but yes, it is glowing. A little bit.
It doesn't show up on camera.
Damn. But yeah, this stuff is super cool. Super, super cool. And you can mix this directly with your acrylic paint, or you can paint over top of your painted pieces. Either one. So if you wanted to. And you can charge this. You just make sure that it's under a UV light or in sunlight. And then once the sun goes down and it gets dark, then it will start glowing. This stuff is awesome. It's really cool. I wanted to show you this because it has 10 times the glow of the Glow-It paint medium. So this one is 10 times stronger and incredibly bright. I was really impressed with this when we were first given that. So I've got, ooh, I really like that neon on there. How fun is this? Look at that. Woo, baby. Baby, oh baby.
It's the small things in life that make her happy.
It is. I get very excited. What else did? Oh, I know there's I think the best hobby when it comes to arts and craft is collecting arts and crafts supplies. And I have an absolutely insane amount of colored pencils. I'm obsessed with colored pencils. I just love them. I have another class that I'm going to be doing shortly. My latest obsession is glass. Coloring glass, making it look realistic. That's what I'm into these days with colored pencils. But having said that, Miss Deb has been playing with these Tombow watercolor markers, and now I'm kind of obsessed with those too. So I got a bunch of those. So now I'm anxious to sit down and play with those as well. So I have way too many things to play with and no time to play with them. So I'm really liking that. I think that pumpkin looks pretty good. It's nice and bright. I love, love, love that neon on there. How cool is that? Love it.
Janet Mills says, I'm riding in the car watching and listening. Dog draped across my lap. Minutes ago you were using the black-handled brush. Dog saw it. He saw it. Nose went to the screen and followed every move.
What is that?
He's curious.
Yeah. So now we have to work on this pumpkin back here. Now I'm using a little bit of thinned asphaltum to shade this pumpkin. And you know it's got to be asphaltum because that's my color.
You know your current obsession becomes our next obsession?
Well, you guys got to go check out Deb's, her Facebook group. I got to tell you, Deb uses stamps, doodles, and these Tombow markers to create the most amazing designs. Like, they're seriously gorgeous. She did one with rubber boots.
Oh, yeah?
It was so freaking cute. So freaking cute. And she's been using Tombow markers. She's also used like the Decor Fluid acrylics, but they're really been hard to find. And so she's been using these Tombow markers, and oh my God, they're amazing. So that's my latest obsession. Had to find a set of those things. So I'm just dividing all of the portions of this pumpkin with a float of thinned asphaltum. And I'm using that float to separate each of those segments. Now I have all these spaces in between things. It's just how I base coat. I always leave gaps and spaces between things. And when you're doing this, all of those things eventually get filled in, or they become just part of. So I don't really worry about those gaps. They eventually sort of take care of themselves. So I've got my first layer of asphaltum in there. I'm going to dry this real quick. Now the base color for this white pumpkin back there is just oyster beige. I think white would have been too bright on that background. The oyster beige still gives us all that contrast that we wanted, but it also gives us a nice warm base. It's a nice color to work with. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to deepen these floats that separate these pumpkins. So I've got 2 floats of asphaltum back here. And you will note these are not neat and tidy and perfect little floats.
Did Tracy say she's teaching a colored pencil class? If so, when?
I am not teaching colored pencil.
She's taking a class.
I'm taking one. The piece that I'm doing is a crystal bowl filled with cherries.
That's a lot of contradicting colors.
On a black background.
Fun. So there's going to be some blues. And...
I'm
Wow.
terrified and excited at the same time. I happen to think that this piece is just spectacular.
My craft supplies will be my children's inheritance.
Yep. Congratulations, son.
I could do a lot with all the stuff you got.
Yeah, you could probably paint into the next lifetime and never run out. So all I'm doing is just deepening some of those shadows. And I'm paying a little more attention to this lower area here because I want that shadow to be nice and deep back there because it's going to force that blue pumpkin forward.
Curating collections is what me and my friend refers to our craft hoarding solutions.
Curating, that's an excellent term for
Curating and collections.
Yeah. So I'm going to grab a little bit of warm white and I'm going, oh, where is that oyster beige? I forgot. I have 1 bottle of oyster beige and it is thick. So I have oyster beige on my brush. This is where I get to clean up a few things. So anything that was looking a little sketchy or a little, I don't know, perhaps a little rough, this is where I get to clean that up a little bit. It also is where I get to add a little more contrast between those shadows.
kids aren't interested in my kind of art. My daughter is a digital artist.
Ooh.
So, nothing. You'd be surprised with digital artists.
Oh, digital artists are amazing.
There's certain things you can't do with paint that you can do on a computer.
Yep. And vice versa.
And vice versa. A computer cannot mimic a brushstroke.
It can mimic it, but it can't do it perfectly.
Yeah. Now you'll know that
Yeah.
one brushstroke is going to be identical to the next.
Yeah.
Whereas it's impossible for that to happen in liquid acrylics and oils.
So I've just cleaned that up a little bit, just floated a little bit of oyster beige on there. Now I'm going to take my point blender again. Now you can float this in or you can dry brush it in. That's entirely up to you. I'm kind of on the want to do the highlights with this point blender. So I'm just taking a little bit of warm white and I'm just dry brushing that area at the front, just like I did with this one. I just wanted to pull a little bit of that. And I'm letting that white sort of drift over top of some of those shadows. And it softens that boundary. So if you found it was looking a little bit harsh, this little dry brush is going to take care of a lot of that. And it softens things. We don't want a super shiny pumpkin. So I'm not going to put too many harsh highlights on here or strong highlights because quite honestly they're not necessary. There we go. Easy peasy.
Ooh. Watercolor caricatures.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. I've dabbled in too many forms of art.
No such thing. So I've got my the stem on my pumpkin. I've got my highlights in place. I've got my shading in place. And I think that this pumpkin is good for now. We're going to tweak it a little bit at another point. But now we're going to move on to this little blue pumpkin in here. I like my blue pumpkin.
Was it oyster beige?
Oyster beige is the base coat, yes.
Oyster beige.
If you're looking for the product number, it's DA313.
Is there a neon white?
No.
No, white is white.
White is white. And it's not.
What?
White is not just white.
It's the combination of all the colors.
No, it's not. It's the absence of color.
I thought that was black.
It's, black is made up of all of your colors. You take all your primary color, all of your colors together.
Then
makes
why
black.
is it white light turns into the rainbow?
I don't know.
Hmm?
So I'm going to clean this up. I just realized that this is not very opaque in here. I'm going to grab I'm using a number 5 round for this, just to, I want a little bit more opaque towards the top of this pumpkin. And a little less so towards the bottom. Because this is all going to be shaded anyhow, so I'm not really worried about that, but this upper portion, I want it fairly opaque. Just put my finger in the paint.
If you put that ultimate glow in with titanium white,
It would glow in the dark.
that would be neat.
Okay. So the bottom of this pumpkin is going to be darker because it's hidden away. And our shading color for our blue pumpkin is Prussian blue. Now, I know this is going to be intimidating because it's such a strong color, but you are only going to use a tiny amount. And you're going to thin it quite heavily so that we have a deep blue, but a very transparent deep blue. And we're going to start putting some shadows in. This is what's going to separate all of those segments.
I've never seen a blue pumpkin. Oh, Wizard of Oz.
So the bottom of that pumpkin is getting shaded with that Prussian blue. Just like so.
What's the name of the brush?
The one that I'm using right now, the one I'm using right now is a Traditions brush. This is the Deckwart Traditions. It's a 3/8 angle shader.
You're not using a Dynasty?
It is actually, they're made by Dynasty.
No. Gotcha.
So all of those segments and areas of this pumpkin is shaded with that thinned Prussian blue. And I'm going to dry it real quick, and then I'm going to shade the bottom of this pumpkin a little bit more so that we get nice shape. There we go. There we go.
USGS tracking sucks.
Yes. Most tracking sucks these days, especially coming into Canada.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell people too, if you're Canadian and you're ordering anything that has to be shipped from the US in the next couple of weeks, you can expect it to be delayed because our customs and border control people are work slowdown and potentially a strike starting sometime this week. So we're going to see some slowdowns with stuff coming across the border.
A federal agency is going on strike?
Yes. They're unionized under PSAC.
Oh, that's fun.
So things may be slow. So I've got all my shading in place. I use that Prussian blue, and we're going to start adding some highlights to this. And I like doing this in stages. But I think I want to deepen these shadows a little. I'm going to switch to a bigger angle, and I'm going to use some asphaltum.
No.
I know.
Shock gasp.
Smart ass. So I'm going to float right over that Prussian blue with a float of thin asphaltum. I love this color over blue. I think it's just gorgeous, and it shades so nicely.
I'm so glad you're on today. I just got back from a memorial service for a friend who died from COVID.
Oh,
I really
no.
needed this today. Thank you.
I'm so sorry.
That was Becca Buckner.
I know numbers are creeping up in some places too, and that's sad and a little frightening, but okay, so I've got just a float of asphaltum over that Prussian. I'm going to dry it real quick, and then we're going to start adding some highlights. Now, with this pumpkin, I'm going to use that Bahama Blue, but I'm going to start with adding a little bit of white to it so that I get a lighter value of that Bahama Blue. And that will be my first highlight color. And again, I'm going to let this color kind of overlap those shadings so that it softens them a little. And what is...
What'd you do?
I got a schmiggly in my brush. I'm going to take that off.
What is a schmegly?
It's a technical term for a chunk.
A schmegly?
Schmiggly.
Okay.
Okay, let's try this again. Bahama Blue, a little bit of white. I just want to make a slightly lighter value. There we go. That's better.
What's for dinner tonight? Okay.
Butter chicken.
Yes! Oh, I won't be here for it.
I just think that's funny.
Now I'm depressed. No.
So yeah, now he's gonna sulk because he won't be here, but he'll be here when you get home.
More buttered chicken now.
Oh my gosh, I am not. No, I can't operate that brush for whatever reason. Oh my gosh, I just completely hooped this.
Could you use the neon blue for highlight?
Ooh, sure. Why not? I don't have any, or I would.
Oh, you don't have any?
I don't have any neon blue.
Okay.
No. But yeah, hello.
Score one for leftovers, Renee. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do this with an angled brush because my dry brush is now wet. So I'm just going to pull a little float. This is just a little bit of Bahama Blue mixed with a touch of white. A touch of white. Good grief.
A touch.
Okay, there.
You're just having a day, aren't you?
I am. Some days, you know. Yesterday I was short, like I said, I was a French fry short of a Happy Meal yesterday. Today I've been doing well if I can find my butt with both hands, so. There we go. Okay.
It might be a wine date.
Oh, I'm thinking it will be. Shaping up.
I'm just gonna stop doing things.
It's shaping up. So I'm just pulling a little bit of that Bahama Blue white mixture as my highlight. I should have used a smaller brush. Good grief.
Tracy, be honest, is Renee your fave child?
My favorite child? He's my favorite male child. How's that?
Your only male child.
So it's the truth. He's my buddy, always has been. I think moms and their...
Something about looking like your father, too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Sometimes it's downright creepy, though, gotta tell you. But
when I'm clean shaven.
when he's clean shaven, it's freaking spooky. And when he calls me, that's spookier because he sounds just like him.
Scares her.
Yeah, it kind of freaks me out.
She doesn't have a favorite child. She doesn't play favorites.
No, they try very hard not to play favorites.
Gotta play fair.
I can honestly say they've both pushed me to the edge.
We've pushed her to drink.
So I've just taken a little of that Bahama Blue and white. There's my highlight. Nice and soft. I don't really want to, let me see if I can find it. A dry point blender. I'm going to put a final highlight on. See, you found a dry one. And this is just straight warm white. for this part, and this is my final highlight. Nice soft dry brush.
See, that if I had my own YouTube channel, that would be my goal every time.
What's that?
Just to hear somebody say, "You make me smile."
Aw.
It is. I like making people smile. Always have.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
this
like
says
seeing-
you make people laugh on a regular basis.
to near flatulence. Unintentional flatulence.
Yes.
I've made my father cry.
Yeah. From laughing.
You do it every Saturday?
Yeah.
I try. It's my goal. It is my goal to make people smile. Wherever I go.
So I'm just dry brushing, little highlight on, and then we're going to start those leaves. So I like taking that dry brush over top of the shading. I just find it softens things. It doesn't look so harsh. And there we go.
Renee, do you
Have
ever
a blue
think about
pumpkin.
doing your dog training on YouTube? No, because that is a extremely competitive area. And I have too many friends that it would contradict.
Yeah.
So my style of dog training is different from other dog trainers, and somebody will go, "Oh, he said, she said," and no, I'm just not going to get into that battle.
There. We have a blue pumpkin, we have a white pumpkin, we have an orange pumpkin. So now we're going to tackle these leaves. I love doing these leaves. These are really fun. And I have, ta-da! Thanks to Faye Reed, I have plantation pine.
She sent you a bottle of plantation
I
pine.
got a bottle of plantation pine. Color me happy. So we're going to shade these leaves with a float of plantation pine. Oh God, now what?
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before, Renee. You're so funny, you've made me fart.
Yeah.
I didn't say fart. I've said
To
I
the
make
point of
people laugh
flatulence.
to the point of near flatulence. It's up to them to control their body, not me.
Uh-uh.
What their body does is up to them. Ish.
So I'm just putting a float down the center vein of each segment of these leaves. This is just a little bit of thinned plantation pine. It's like my favorite green. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And down that leaf as well.
I have the chat talking about farts now.
Lovely.
My day is complete. I've got an entire audience of 150 people all talking about farts.
Oh, goodness.
This is great. Learn to paint a pumpkin and talk about
Farts.
farts.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Such
Very
a class
adult.
act, my boy.
That is a different way of saying you like making people smile when you leave.
Well, and the farts are his way of getting them to leave.
Occasionally. What can you use in place of plantation pine?
Sap green in the fluid acrylics, evergreen. You just need a nice dark green. I'm just fixing something here because I whoopsied again.
Oh, I know what you're going to use next.
Well, yeah.
Are you going to use that? Huh?
Not yet. I'm
That's a
fixing
good
an edge.
name for it too.
Thermal green.
Thermal green.
So I've got my shading in place. I had a couple of little bobbles there I just wanted to clean up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight this. I'm going to use a little bit of matcha green, if I can find it. I have a hell of a mess going here on this palette.
It's fluff.
Fluff, yeah. Did you fluff?
Fluff.
Fluff, not fart.
Oh, fart. Fluff. Yes.
So on the highlight points of this leaf, I'm just going to float a little bit of matcha green. I'm doing this just so that it stands out a little bit. So I'm going to pop that in there and I'm going to dry it real quick. This is the area that we're going to put it. I just put that in there so you can see it. So the first float, we're going to put a highlight of thinned Bahama Blue on our leaf. And we're going to fill that shape that I just did there. We're going to put a float of that Bahama Blue in there. And I think it's a little strong, but we'll fix that. Put a lot of it on there. I want to thin that out a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm thinning it out quite heavily. I want this, it's going to look like white for a bit. So I got a little bit there. I want a little bit here. So all on these highlight points, you know, that light impact point on these leaves is where I want that Bahama Blue. You notice it does not look anything like blue when it's on there. It looks more white on top of this green. And I'm putting a little float of it on that area there. Now you can use any bright green. Margarita would look particularly good. But I'm thinking I want to try this neon. Oh my gosh, that neon is just, whoa. Holy cool. There we go. Wowzers, Batman, is that ever bright? So I'm just going right over top of that Bahama Blue with that thermal green. Now I would use like the margarita, or I would use olive green, a really high acid green to go over it. And you can come back in and put in a bit more Bahama Blue if you want. There's no reason why you can't. So I'm just going to float a little bit of that on there. Wowzers. And I'm going to take a little of that matcha green. And I want to highlight. Ooh, too much. Too much, too much, too much. A little too much color on there. Got a little bit of matcha green. Oh. Some days I should not be allowed to paint. I think one of those days last week. Couldn't paint my way out of a wet paper bag. So I'm just putting a highlight on that stem. I'm going to dry this really quick. And I'm going to come back up here with that Bahama blue. I want to put a wider float of that blue in. It's always interesting to me to see how colors interact with each other, and I'm really liking how this neon green is affecting that blue. I'm going to do the same thing on each of these leaves, but I'm just going to finish out this one. Now, I want to strengthen that green in a couple of places, so I think I'm going to pull it into this area right here. I want a really strong green highlight there and in here. I'm going to leave that blue showing up top here. I love layers, and I really love this neon on there, but I think we need a little bit of it up on this stem. So I'm going to pull a little here and here. Oof, I love that. And a little tiny bit on that top leaf. And then I'm going to let that dry. Now I want to deepen all of the shading on here. I want these floats to be nice and dark so we have great contrast. So if you don't have the plantation pine, don't be afraid to grab some of that black green, a nice dark shading green. Black green will work nicely. Black forest green will work nicely. If you have the fluid acrylics, break out some of that sap green. I love sap green. And this is where you get to clean up some of those edges that perhaps weren't as sharp as you wanted them to be, or the shadows weren't quite as deep as you wanted them to be. I'm going to reach over here. Now, the sap green in the fluid acrylics is a very dark green, but it's very transparent. So it is great for creating deep, deep shadows. And you can see what a difference that makes. This is the sap green as opposed to the plantation pine. It's a very strong color, and it is very transparent. So you can work over top of other things. So and here's a good example. If I wanted to deepen this shadow and crisp up an edge so that I had good contrast at those leaves, that plantation pine might be not quite dark enough for it, but that sap green definitely is. So I want to pull a little of that sap green. So it gives me a chance to sharpen the edges of things. So any place where it's just not quite getting there, where I don't quite have enough contrast, that gorgeous sap green is going to give me that. So I wanted to deepen that. Black green will do the same thing, although it's going to be a bit more opaque. It will be dark enough value for you to get that nice dark shadow. Now, to finish out that leaf, I would dry brush a little bit more on top of that. But then we're going to grab that liner brush and some of that thinned matcha green. I'm going to pull a little of that neon into it just to keep that nice bright tone. You get thin it out with a little bit of water or the Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze. And this is where I get to clean up my leaves a little bit. This is where I get to have a little bit of fun because I like that, you know, that more loose look, less hard edged. They're a little bit softer. And so you get to do that with that little line of... I do this to my leaves all the time. I just like this more I like the softer detail of that irregular line. Makes your leaves look a little more relaxed and a little more delicate. They don't look quite so hard-edged. And it's the same with these little curlicues that you see in everything that I do. I like these little curlicues. I don't really worry about whether or not they're perfect. It's not really that important. But then I would take a little of that plantation pine, the Bahama blue on this, because we're using it as a highlight color. You know, we're picking it up from here and having it show up in those leaves. I'm going to use it as a highlight color on these little vines too. So it's just a thin little stroke. Doesn't have to be perfect.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't do a close-up. I wasn't here.
He wasn't here, so. So all of those little vines and tendrils, I will highlight them out with a little bit of that thinned Bahama blue.
I'm gonna have to set up your phone for the remote.
Yep.
There you go.
And the stems on these pumpkins, they're getting shaded the same way as the leaves. So they're going to get that plantation pine or that sap green or black green or whatever dark green it is that you have handy. And it gets shaded on that left side. And don't forget to take that shadow down into those lower areas of the stem because they're tucked in, they're down, so they're going to be shaded somewhat. And then for the highlight on the stem, it's the same as the leaves. I'm using a little bit of that matcha green.
No wonder we all got more serious. Renee wasn't here. Oh, not leaving yet. Still got another half hour. It's just getting ready.
And then I would take a little of that, just like we did with the leaves, a little of that thermal green. I really like this. Kind of obsessed with the thermal green.
Actually, while I'm here.
Oh yeah, he's got to do some drawings here.
The Wheel of Names. We got 108 names going into the wheel today.
Nice.
Nice. So that's
Yeah.
click it and spin it. There we go.
So we have 3 giveaways today. They've got some great little surfaces, chipboard pieces from Southern Ridge Trading, and Claudette Hunter gets one of those.
I need a ruler because I can't write straight.
So, Claudette, go to the front page of my website, go down to the lower right-hand corner and click on the little speech bubble and send us a message with your shipping information so that we can get that out to you on first thing on Monday. Last weekend's door prizes, they are all on their way. So if you won something last week, it should turn up in the mail very shortly. I would say in the next few days.
And spinny spinny again. Oh, I don't have the sounds going.
Oh. So we have faux squirrel and we have some great chipboard stuff and holly.
Holly.
Holly. Holly who?
Holly who? Just Holly?
So Holly, you know who you are. Hopefully.
The Holly without a last name in your username. It just says Holly.
So the last thing that I really want to cover in this today is this wheat that we have in the corner. This is a super easy one to paint. You're going to need either a filbert or a small round, let's say a number 4, should do the trick for this. And you're going to need your liner. And the colors for this, we're going to use a little bit of Sunny Day. Get a clean palette here. I'm going to use a little bit of Sunny Day, which is that bright yellow. It's my favorite yellow right now. And I've got some orange flame, and I have some spiced pumpkin. I think I will use the spiced pumpkin for this. And we'll need some asphaltum, because everything I do, I gotta have the asphaltum. Okay, so Holly, and our last winner is Rhonda Payne.
It's Rhonda Payne.
So, ladies, go to the front page of my website, click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner, and send us a message with your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you.
No way, Renee, I did not win. Did I? I went to pee. Yes, Holly, you won. We just need all your information, so you gotta go to the website, send us a message saying we need a last name though.
Yeah, it's helpful. So I'm just going to put a couple of strokes in. These are just to indicate where the wheat is going to be. I've got 3, 4 in there. And I'm using a number 5 round. You can use a round or a small filbert. And I'm going to do this upside down because it's easier. And I'm just going to put a little dab like this in little groups. Neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. No, they're not neat. No, they're not tidy, and that's okay. And you see how they've got this little paint sort of runs out? That's what we want right there. That little bit of texture. We don't want perfection. That would be boring. So it's just a tap and a pull. Super simple. And it's loose. We don't want this to be too heavily structured. So there's our finished one, 2. There we go. So I'm going to dry that. I like this simple form of wheat. It's super easy to do. I just want to dry this because now I have to put in some grasses.
Your imperfections are perfect. Your imperfection is so much better than mine.
So I'm going to use the rigger for this. And I'm going to use that Sunny Day. And I get a really nice, I love this orange, this antique gold. Let's use antique gold. I've just got a whole collection of fall colors sitting here. So I'm going to use that antique gold and a little bit of Sunny Day. Now I want to pull in a few little strokes of the grasses, so to speak.
Oh.
And it's just a few. I don't need to have a ton of these in here.
I was looking at your live class, 7 p.m. Eastern on the 24th.
Oh, okay.
I was making sure I wasn't working.
Oh. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to show you how to shade and then detail this wheat. And this is super easy. You can tuck some in wherever you want, really. It's just a nice little filler, and it adds a little bit of lighter color to this.
My sixth sense of humor and my dark sense of humor are trying to collide with each other right now.
Okay.
But I don't know the person that well to
Okay.
use it.
So don't.
I'm going to go with I'm not going to make any jokes.
Okay.
So
I'm going to grab a little bit of orange flame. I initially was going to go with spiced pumpkin. That's the color that I used initially, but I'm in a hot and spicy mood. So now the bottom of each one of these little things here is going to get a little float, and it's not neat. It's just a little sea stroke, little float of orange flame or spiced pumpkin just at the base. These are much more interesting if they're imperfect. If they're not, the perfect little C stroke or perfect little comma, they're just, I don't know, they can be boring quickly, I think. So I'm just putting a little C stroke at the base just to add a little color to them. Just to keep them interesting. And then I'm going to take my liner and some of that Sunny Day, and we have to give these a little bit of texture. And we're going to do that with the liner brush. And I'm just going to pull from the bottom out to the tip of that, just a fine, thin line, like so.
just wondering about the dates for the paid subscription group. Is it usually on the third Tuesday of the month?
Usually, yes. This month it's on the 24th. It's been on the 29th and the 27th of previous months.
Yeah, this month is on the 24th. We usually try to get it as close to the end of the month as possible, but sometime on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah. The last Tuesday of every month.
Yeah. And
sadly, that is the 24th because the last day of the month is a Monday.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm just using that liner and some thin Sunny Day just to put in a little more texture. Now you can go back over this as often as you want. If you want these to look really furry and fluffy, you can do more. And you can make them as long as you want or as short as you want. I just wanted that little bit of texture. Now, if you find these are too bright or too colorful, you can go back in with a little asphaltum and shade them if you so desire. I just like the texture of this.
Fluffy wheat.
Well, anybody that's ever had to work in it, you get chaff. Yeah, it's the bits that come off of the wheat and the hay and whatnot.
It's also the bits that prevent you from getting hit by missiles while you're in a plane.
Okay.
Alrighty
then, yes.
Chaff and flare.
So once I have that done, we want to go back in and we want to deepen some shadows around those leaves. You can do that with some asphaltum. And all this does is just sort of give you the illusion that it's tucked in behind things. Just like so. And the same here.
Strange, my calendar says the last day is the 31st on a Tuesday. Is there 31 days in August?
Yes.
Oh, well then yeah, that would be a Tuesday.
Yep.
Why'd you make it the 24th?
Because I have something on the 31st.
Okay. Well, never mind.
So that little shadow of asphaltum, it just sort of tucks that wheat in behind our piece, in behind the leaves, and in behind pumpkins. And then the only thing really to finish off is the lettering. And that I'm going to do with a 0 rigger.
It just did the knuckle thing. Leave me alone. I had to do the knuckle thing.
You count between the knuckles.
Yeah, January, February, March.
Oh my gosh.
Did you get some fast drying medium yet?
I have some coming. So I'm thinning out a little bit of warm white for this lettering. And I'm using a number 2 or a number 0 rigger. You can use either or, whichever you're most comfortable with. I like both, but I tend to lean towards the number 2. So I've got mine pressed down, so I have a nice chisel edge. And I'm starting on the chisel edge, and I press down to fill up that space. And then I come back up onto the chisel edge. Chisel edge. Press down. Until it fills the space, and then you can come back up onto the chisel edge. And I'm going to show you really something really neat. I've been playing with my white pens of late. And they're a lot of fun. They're really handy, actually. So I've got all of my vertical stuff, my horizontal stuff, and whatnot done. I'm just going to finish out. Makes a world of difference when you have the right brush to do this type of thing. It goes on so much smoother. So let me show you something really quick. I've been playing with this. Now, you have to seal these. This is a white Uniball Signo. You do have to seal these when you're done. I will go in and spray my surface with matte spray when I'm finished. But to finish out all of these little tiny details, particularly when it's fine, small lettering, if you don't feel that or are not confident enough to try it with the liner brush or to try it with the rigger, grab one of these white pens and do all your connecting lines with it. Works absolutely beautifully. I've been using this particularly for small lettering. You can trace it on, and then you just simply have to write over your tracing. This pen actually works just beautifully for this. Just make sure that the paint you're working over is dry. That's the most important thing. If your paint is wet, it gets on the ball. If you find your pen isn't working as well as you think it should, if it's skipping and not doing whatnot, just take a little bit of hand sanitizer on a Q-tip and then clean the ball. Just wipe off the tip of your pen and it will be fine. Works like a charm. So it's an ideal substitution if you're not confident with that liner brush. Don't be afraid to grab that opaque white paint pen. And then when you're ready to do the final finishing on your piece, just take it out to the garage, hit it with a couple of coats of matte spray, and once it's been sealed in, it is fine. It's not going anywhere, and then you can varnish right over top of it. It's just, this is water soluble, so don't go over it with any varnish without sealing it first. But it works like a hot damn on this. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And then I'm just going to quickly clean up a couple of graphite lines on this, just to show you how pretty this lettering is. And then the final step for this is to spatter it. Now I used 3 colors to spatter this. I used a little bit of oyster beige, I used asphaltum, and I used a little bit of black. So I've done 3 separate spatterings to get that nice spattered texture that's over top of it. And I was fairly aggressive with it. I did not go easy. I like lots of spatter. That is my favorite thing. I love spatter on top of things like this. It just, I don't know, it just adds a little extra age. And the other thing I like to do is I take my black Uniball Signo and just go in and, you know, define things a little bit if you feel it needs it. Add a few sketchy lines here and there if you feel it needs it. I like putting those in. I just like how it defines things, gives me nice little shadows here and there. I love this Uniball Signo because it works so beautifully over top of acrylics, just like this white one does. These ones work really well. And then I use my red one for doing my tracing and my transferring. So the spatter on this, I went at it first with a little bit of thinned lamp black. Then I went over it again with the asphaltum, again heavily thinned. And then finally I went over it with a little bit of that thinned oyster beige. White was a little too bright, so I went with the oyster beige, and it worked really, really well. I love this piece. I think it's a fun one. I'm going to, I think I'm going to find a buffalo check ribbon and hang that on my front door this fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want the face camera?
Why not?
Okay.
See, you didn't need the remote this time around.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah. McGinty is heading out.
Shortly.
Yeah, he's heading out to work shortly. And I'm going to go find some
McGinty?
McGinty.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go find some Advil or something. My arm is killing me. This was a really fun piece. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. And if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to use that little speech bubble on the front page of my website to send me your questions. I'm happy to answer them. I try to avoid using Messenger because we have 4 pages. And Messenger, I never know, and I don't have the time daily to keep up with it, to be perfectly honest. So if you have a question related to a project, or if you have a question related to a product, or a question about anything on the website, don't be afraid to use that message service on my site, because that comes directly to me, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And what else? Our winners are Rhonda Payne, Holly
Shippey.
Okay, and what was the other one?
You know what? Claudette Hunter.
So ladies, don't forget to send us a message with your information.
Mm-hmm.
Membership group, you've got some of you are posting your challenges already on the group. Amazing. They're doing the black and white painting of the hibiscus. It's awesome. You guys are doing a great job. Just keep hammering away at it. You'll surprise yourself at just how much you can do with just those 2 colors. And we will have video for you this week. We're a little behind schedule because I took a couple of days off. So yeah. But
I'm going to be sleep deprived.
you're always sleep deprived.
More so than
Normal. And yeah, and the Angel Project. If you have questions about that, don't hesitate, again, to use that message service. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. It is a big pattern. don't be intimidated. I think it's 22 pages, this one. You guys nailed the one with the sunflowers. You guys were amazing. The pieces you posted were absolutely out of this world. You're going to nail this one too. I'm excited about this one. The techniques are different. We're using texture mediums. We're using metal leafing. We're using all sorts of things. And paper, and there's tons of stuff.
Metal leaf?
Yeah. There's a gold leaf in the halo on the big one. So yeah, there's
ionized gold.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's iodized.
Iodized. That's it.
So there's tons and tons and tons of techniques in the angels, probably more than you think. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Might be a little challenging, but that's okay. We're always up for a challenge. And
Which
what-
angel is being painted in the class?
the big one,
The big one?
the one on the 11 by 14,
The one right over her.
the one right over my shoulders, the one we're doing in class. And we are going to talk about the others because there's a couple of techniques in the others that we need to talk about too. So we are going to be covering that as well. But the one we're going to finish is going to be that big one.
They want to see it.
Okay, so the big one is this one. This is our big angel. And this one has the texture mediums, and it has some stenciling in it, and it has the metal leafing and the halo, and then the skin tones and all of that. And then we're going to cover this one as well, which is, there's a lot in this one, and textures using contrasts, and then there's paper in the background. It's a Bible page or dictionary page, and we're using wax seals, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going into those. And then the ornaments also have a ton of technique in them. So we're going to cover a lot.
If you haven't got the pattern, where's the link?
The link is on the Facebook page. It's also in the community tab for members. So if you are a member of the paid membership group, go to my YouTube channel, click on the community tab, and scroll down. I think it's 2 posts on the community tab, and you will see a link there for your pattern. You can download it there. Or you can go to the Facebook group, the Tracy Moreau YT paid membership group. It is, you only have access if you are a paid member, so, and you'll be able to find it there as well. And if you have any other problems with it, don't hesitate. Again, hit the message service. Send me a message. We're more than happy to help you. And next week,
Where's the lemonade piece from? Lemonade piece.
that
Oh,
one. The lemonade piece.
that was.
I haven't done anything with that one yet.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun one. Maybe we'll do that one. I don't know.
Maybe later.
Yep. I have a new series of 6x6s coming out.
Are we
And-
done with 6x6s?
No,
with the
we have
flowers?
one more.
Which one?
The magnolia. We haven't painted the magnolia yet. So, but I have a new series that involves birds, butterflies, and teacups. So there's a bunch of those coming up soon. So I'm not absolutely sure what we're going to do next weekend, but I'll think of something. All right, guys, that is it for us today. Renee's got to go off and defend the hordes, and I have to. Hordes.
Oh, hordes.
Hordes. Yes.
Like a horde of orcs.
Orcs. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Not what I heard.
No, I know.
Even though there's a few
That's
of
why
those out there.
I corrected myself.
Horde. With an H.
With an H. In the meantime, guys, mwah, I love you. Please stay safe, and we'll see you next weekend right here.